Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about what a waste. I always laugh at the titles because I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be about or whatever else, but listen, what made me want to call this What a Waste is two things. First is today we were reading the Bible in church. Today I went to church. I mean, online because it's the fifth Sunday, and on fifth Sundays we do a dial-in. It's like a conference call, and the preacher comes and preach, and we do the same thing as a normal sermon. So service, and so the pastor today started talking about Mary and Martha and how Mary had poured her perfumes all over Jesus' feet and or all over Jesus and she his feet and was wiping his feet with her hair and stuff and the whole time like her sister was sitting there and was like, oh, you're not helping me with anything. And he was saying how sometimes it could seem like we're wasting our time doing something, and really we're worshiping. Really, that's the time that God is really putting himself in us. That's really the time that God is working on us. He's teaching us something. We're learning something. We are getting something from God. And so, and in that instance is Jesus, God in the flesh. And so he was talking about that today at church, and you're probably wondering why I'm wearing a cowboy hat, and I had cowboy boots on earlier and everything. So I went to, I always have to explain. I really don't have to, but I do it just because I know some people that normally watch the videos are going to be like, okay, so you had this on, now you got a cowboy hat on. I don't know what's happening. And so I I went to this Western thing today and I decided to look the part. And so I had on cowboy boots and this whole get up. And so so I was learning a two step and some other things, like one of those things that I do in my season. And so so I was just, doing that. And so like around usually towards the end of the day ish, like at the beginning of the day, I feel motivated. I feel like I'm ready to go. I feel good. In the middle of the day, I'm like, okay, I still got some energy. I can still do this. I can still do that. Towards the very tail end of the day, it's like, I don't know if my spirit gets exhausted. I don't know what is happening to me, but towards like like late in the evening or nighttime, I start to feel my spirit start to diminish, or I start to just feel like the spiritual warfare coming at me so hard during this time. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, but I've gotten so much like I don't know what to call it, but I just feel like I'm prepared at night because I'm like it's the middle of the night. Okay, let's go. you know, like what do you want? Like, you ready for this? Because I'm ready for this. So when the spiritual warfare tries to come at night, I've been like, I'll pray. As soon as I feel myself like start to wake up a little bit, I'll start to pray. And I'll just be praying like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because thou art with me. Like, I literally just start praying, God, you are my strength when I'm weak. God, you're my bridge over troubled water. If you're for me, you're more than the whole world against me. Like, I just keep on going. And I'm just like, God, I don't know what's happening right now. And if you're waking me up, it's because you need me to come to start praying or to get in prayer or in your presence so I can fight whatever is to come tomorrow or whatever is to come in an hour or whatever is about to come in the next minute. So I'm trying to be on it. And so I try to prepare myself as much as possible to get ready for whatever is coming my way. And so since I pray morning, noon, and night, since it's not yet time for me to start praying at night, that's like right towards like the end of my day before I get ready for bed is like when the adversary will start pushing the spiritual warfare on me. And it's been like this for the past like week or so. And I don't know what's happening. I don't know what God is about to do in my life, but I feel like every time the spiritual warfare comes, it's because God is about to bless you with something. I mean, give you immense blessings. Like how you blessed every day anyways, like when God is really about to show you who he is, like it's about to be that type of blessing, like a miracle, like something that is seems impossible to but is possible with God. Like whenever he's about to come with it like that, it's like the spiritual warfare just be like whew, like all over me, like heavy on my spirit, heavy on my heart. Like, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Some people might not understand. Like, it's just really, Like he'll really be getting on me. And like someone will either bring up something or someone will say something or, something will happen. And first thing I think in my mind is not always the best thing. It's not always like, oh yeah, you got this. Oh yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good. Sometimes the first thing that jumps into my mind is like, oh my gosh, I didn't do this right. Or, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have been with this person, or I shouldn't have went this place, or I shouldn't have stayed in, and I don't really get on myself about the relationship that I spent 15 years on anymore, because I'm just like, okay, whatever. You know, it was a learning lesson. That was before I really rededicated my life to God. It is what it is. I learned a lot of things about myself. I learned what I want. I learned what I don't want, in that way. And I learned about, God's love for me and how to start loving myself and then eventually love myself, and so, that's just water under the bridge. It's really nothing. But like it'll be more recent things or things that have happened within the last year or so. And it's just like, those are the things that the adversary tries to throw at me. Like, oh, this is even after you knew God and you did this thing. Oh, remember when you did that? And it's like, ugh, I'm not trying to think about that. And sometimes it's so, the spiritual warfare is so strong. I have to literally out loud be like, I don't care about that anymore. Or I'm not worried about that. That's not my problem. It's not my problem to make somebody see my worth. It's not my problem to try to convince somebody that I am who I am. And I don't mean in a God kind of way. I just mean like I'm who God created me to be. Like, it's not my responsibility to make somebody see me. It's my responsibility to be who I am. I really have to like I really had to like get a neck popping, hand clapping, like comeback when the spiritual warfare stops, just to stop it in its tracks. And sometimes it comes over me so fast as before I can even get a chance to respond. And it's like, it's overwhelming, like sadness or like anguish or whatever. It's horrible. And I know some people will say, oh yeah, do this and keep moving. Oh yeah, do this and it's so easy. And when people say stuff like that, I think maybe in their life, maybe it's easy for them, or maybe they're really good at putting on like this facade as if things never affect them. Because I don't know one person that's not affected by anything at all. Like, I know like that's how we would all like to be, but we are emotional creatures. We all emote. So I don't understand how any person could ever feel like nothing ever gets to them. I just feel like that's unrealistic. And although we want to be stronger, although we want to be better, I think those are great goals and we should be striving to be a better person. But it's unrealistic for us to believe that we will never emote again just because we've been hurt in the past, or because we know that we deserve better, or because whatever other thing it is. You're going to feel the feels regardless. It's up to you to speak life into yourself and to continue to try to be better, to get better, so that you can live the best life that God has for you. That's our job. My job, our job is not to pretend as if we're unaffected by everything, because some things hurt. Some things don't feel great. Some things make you angry, sad, happy. And if God wanted you to not have emotions, he would make you into a robot. He wouldn't make you a human being. Like, I feel like God knew that we would have emotions. He knew that we would feel certain types of ways. He knew that we would make different decisions, because that's why he gave us free will, because it's our choice to be better. It's our choice to deal with our emotions the way that we need to and really deal with them, not just pretend like it doesn't affect us, because that's only hurting you and whoever else is around you in the future. And so, so what made me, want to call this again was, what a waste, is because sometimes when you're in spiritual warfare or things don't work out with certain people or whatever else, it kind of makes you feel like, and I know this is so untrue. So don't think that this is something like I'm trying to say this is exactly how it is, but sometimes it could really make you feel like God forgot about you. You know, like you look around and it seems like, and I'm not saying it like in an unappreciative kind of way, like God isn't always blessing me. Because, like I said, when I breathe in and out, it's God's grace and mercy. Whenever I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing in my life, it's always, God is always doing something in my life to help me, to bless me, to prosper me. It's not like I'm not blessed at all, but there are times when you will feel like, what's going on. It just seems like you've been in the waiting season forever. It seems like you've been in this season of your life forever. It seems like you're constantly doing this forever. It seems like, and then the adversary is so slick and so cruel that he will throw it in your face. He'll make sure that you see the photo. He'll make sure that you go to this place, or if you're at this place, he'll make sure that if you see, you know, whatever it is, then he will make sure that you feel even more crappy. Like he's not he's not the type of person that's like, oh no, like let's go ahead and avoid this. He's like, right in your face. Let me go ahead and push it in your face and push your face in the mud and then stab you in the back. Like he's like that type of person, that type of whatever. And so I got my box of Q-tips for the tears. And so hopefully, if I cry again, I have it this time instead of trying to create something new. And the worst thing is that you end up getting streaks because the tears. So try to make sure that it's not going to be a thing. That should be good. Sorry. But yeah, it could really feel like you're being forgotten. Like you see it happening for everybody but you. You see everybody else's business doing this but yours. You see, and for me, this is the thing that gets me. And people get it so misunderstood and they're like, oh, you want this person. And it's like, no, I want my person. I don't want that person. That's somebody else's man. You know? No, I mean, really, it's somebody else's man. That man's not grace for me. I'm not grace for that person. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about what my person is coming. I don't care about them. I mean, I care about everybody. I have to always correct myself because I don't want to make it seem like I'm heartless and like I just don't really care about anybody. I care about everybody's well-being. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to prosper in life. I want everyone to grow their relationship with God. I want that for everybody. It's not like, I'm just like, you know. And so I just, yeah, it's just for me, the thing that makes it harder for me sometimes, which I think might help or bless other people, is so I'll have a moment where, oh, I gotta see what that is. It says I got a delivery. Okay. Sorry, it comes in the bottom of the screen. You can't see it, but I can. Okay, so so the thing that makes it the hardest for me is that I don't want to just be with anybody. I want to be with somebody that God has appointed for me. And so it would be really easy to just be with anybody, somebody, whoever, whoever it is. But my thing is, I want the thing that God appointed for me and the time that God appointed it for me. And it's not always easy waiting. I know the waiting is for my benefit. I know I'm waiting because it's something that God is doing on the inside of me, on the inside of the person in my life and my purpose and their purpose, whatever it is the reason why we would need to wait. I know it's not just God being cruel and saying, ha ha, you could see your ex of 15 years with somebody else. You get to see this other person who, you were really into, be in a whole nother relationship and be happy. Like, I know God is not sitting on his throne looking down, like trying to rub my face in anything. I know he's not trying to make me feel a certain type of way. I know he's not trying to make me, seem as if I'm forgotten. And again, let me reiterate, it's not about any of the ex people. Like, I'm glad that they find people. I'm glad if they're in relationships. I'm glad if, they're happy. I really truly do want everybody to be happy because I know that person's not grace for me, because if they were for me, I would be with them. It's not a question, That's not what I'm worried about. The thing that gets me is that I'm unwilling to settle for just anything. So sometimes it gets tough because a lot of people just settle, and then I feel like I'm the only one on this road not settling, and then on top of that, it's like when I look around and I'm working, I'm doing the things that I need to be doing. I'm staying focused on God. I'm in my purpose. I'm growing. I'm trying to become a better person. And I keep on being diligent. I keep on being obedient. I keep on listening for the most part. And I'm like, okay, nothing's happening in my life. Like things are happening. Like we know God is always working things out. Like every time I take a step, God is using that towards my future. It's not like nothing at all is happening. To me, it feels like nothing's happening. To God, it's like I'm moving this thing out the way. I'm moving this thing over here. I'm getting that, whatever negative characteristic trait off of you. I'm breaking off that childhood trauma thing. I'm breaking off this thing that you still struggle with, but you don't know it's an issue. I'm moving this thing out of your life. I'm moving these people out of your life because when I take you to the next level, they're not going to be happy for you. I'm moving, all of the guys who could be an issue, or any guy that could trip you up, or any guy that could distract you or take you away from your purpose, or me. I'm moving all them people out the way so that it'll be a clear path for you to continue on in your future. And then the person will be right there at the perfect time, because nobody creates a story or a love story like God, you know? So I know that in my mind. I know that in my heart of hearts. I know that in my spirit. I feel that in my soul. I really do know that. And it's just like every once in a while in this waiting season, it really like the adversary will try to push it in my face like, see, the ex got someone, this other person got someone, this person's job is doing good. And I'm like, but I'm doing something. I'm learning every day. I'm growing. I'm doing better today than I was doing the day before, or the week before, or the year before. Like I'm more, healed than I was 2 years ago. I am, healthier than I've ever been. And that's physically and emotionally. I've dealt with so many things from, childhood trauma to my past to everything that I have been through in my life. And I've been facing it head on. I have been facing my fears head on. I've been doing things regardless, even if I'm afraid. And I would have never done that 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. I literally am in such a better position. Like I can't look and worry about what anybody else is doing because they're not on my journey. They're not me. Our stories are completely different. The person I'm going to end up with is not going to be Susie's person, it's going to be Trinesha's person. And so I have to really, just be content with where I am. I have to really, even when I'm going through like a moment, even when I have a moment, even when I feel forgotten, I have to remember that God never forgot about me. And sometimes it's a real struggle when the spiritual warfare hits, because it's like the adversary will just push stuff in my face and be like, man, nanny boo boo, you didn't get this. And it's like, I didn't get it yet. That's what he fails to realize. That's what a lot of us fail to realize. We think because we want it right now, we got to get it right now. We think that because we want to be a millionaire right now, we got to be a millionaire right now. But like I always say, if you're not a good thousandaire, why would you think God was going to make you a good millionaire if you're not being a good steward of your finances? If you are a wreck right now and you have walls up and you're not letting anybody in, why would God bless you with his son? Or even for men, if you have a lot of emotional trauma or things from your past that you never dealt with, and you're trying to find a woman so that you could be even more invulnerable with her, and she is the type of person who's like me, who would really need for you to be, pursuant and a little vulnerable, so I could feel like I could be vulnerable. Like there would be no way that I would even be able to get to know you, because I would put up a wall right away. I wouldn't even be able to allow you to know one thing about me that's real. Like you might know, oh yeah, I like a certain type of ice cream or something, but you're not going to know anything deep. You're not going to know anything for real, like a real fact about me that somebody doesn't know, or it's something that you were intentionally trying to learn. And I wouldn't feel comfortable expressing that to somebody like that's that closed off, that really hasn't dealt with anything, that's not in therapy or, trying to grow or learn or anything like that. And so I just think it's so important for us to understand where we really are, and like not lie to ourselves or lie to God, like God doesn't already know where you are in your life. And then sometimes we really be beside ourselves. We really be thinking we got it like that, like we're good. Like we'll be like, oh yeah, God, I'm healed and I did this and that. And God's like, didn't you just say you don't want nobody? Do you want somebody or no? And then Either that or you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm healed. And you just were crying about something that happened in the past. And you responded to somebody in the way that you did because you still are hurt from that past thing. And you're talking about you're ready. You gotta be honest with yourself. Are you really ready? And then if you are ready, is is it time? Is it in God's time? Because if it's God's time, the person would be there right now. It wouldn't be like it wouldn't be like God would have you waiting around, if it was the time, if it was on God's time for no reason. He's not just like, oh, let me make you wait another year just because, just because I want to see you wait. He's doing it for our benefit. He's doing it because he wants us to prosper. He wants us to have better. He wants us to be ready for the thing. Because, like I always say, if God gives you something prematurely, it'll be disastrous. It won't be something that's a blessing. It'll be a curse. It won't be something that is like beneficial. It'll be more of a hindrance, you know? So while I was in my mood, I looked up things to like scriptures. This is going to sound so silly, but it might bless somebody. I looked up scriptures that you can read when you feel like God has forgotten about you, when it comes to your business, when it comes to romantically, whatever else it is. Like, here's some scriptures, and I hope it blesses you. The first one is Deuteronomy 31:6. It's be strong and courage. It's be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. The next one is Isaiah 49:15-16. Can a woman forget her nursing child that she should have no compassion on the womb, on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. Behold, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me. Or John 10:14-15. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Or John 10:28-29. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. There's more. There's like Romans 36:39. There's Psalm 27:10. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. There is Psalm 34:18, Isaiah 44:1 through 2, Jeremiah 31:3, Psalm 10:3. And it just goes on and on. And Psalm 10:3 is know that the Lord, He is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. Sometimes we get so selfish in thinking of what we want. We don't even realize that what God has is way better than anything that we could ever imagine. Sometimes, because the adversary knows sometimes it's hard for us to wait. And when we have a moment of weakness, he wants to use that as a foothold to make us feel like God isn't who he says he is, or he's not going to keep his promises to us. Sometimes we really do get beside ourselves and thinking that we need to control our life and we can make a better story than God can. But the truth is, no story is greater than God's for our life. I don't always, do everything perfectly. I don't always have all the answers. I don't always do all the right things. And even when I'm talking on here, I mess up on my words. I say something the wrong way, which is why I don't edit it, because I feel like I need to be true to who I am. And although I'm stumbling on stuff, although I say some things the wrong way, although I talk the way I do, or whatever else, this is who I am, and be proud of who you are, who you're becoming, who God is shaping you into. Don't always feel like you have to have everything figured out. Sometimes we think, well, I'm going to wait to date until I feel like I'm perfect, and God is sending you your husband, and you're looking over him. You're overlooking him because you're so worried about being perfect, and only God is perfect. And I'm not talking about those of us that need to be patient and just wait on God. I'm talking about for real. Like, you're not going to meet anybody if you shut everybody down. You're not going to meet anybody if you're standoffish and you just don't ever give anybody a chance. You're not going to meet anybody if you keep on telling yourself that you don't want to be in a relationship when you do, because you just don't want to go through heartbreak again. Every time you go into a relationship, there's a chance that you might get your heart broken. It's just the truth. You have to be willing to know, like, I'm going to be okay regardless with or without this person, because your happiness can't hang on the balance of somebody else. You can't allow them to make or break you. They just have to be there as a bonus. They're, as an extra blessing. So I just, when I was really feeling weak and I was feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel like God's forgotten me. And the adversary was like, yeah, look at all these things that all these other people are doing. And I'm like, I'm not worried about what they're doing. I'm worried about me. He's like, yeah, but you, like, look, you haven't, like, and I could just feel the negativity, the cynicism overwhelming me. Just like, I mean, overwhelming. It's not just like oh yeah, something, something, and whatever. It's like so loud, so over the top, so crazy. Like, it's so much. Like, you don't even understand. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, well, remember when God promised you a person and you're still single, and you're going to be single. And it's like, I might be single until God's ready to appoint somebody. And he's like, oh, but God didn't keep his promise because you're not with anybody. And it's like, God didn't say I was going to be with somebody today. He said I'm going to be with somebody. That's it. Like, it's on God's time. Oh, so God sees you sad, or he sees you having these vulnerable moments and he's not there for you. He doesn't care about you. And then I had to start quoting scriptures to remind, myself that God is with me always. I have to remind myself that God knows every hair on my head and he has not forgotten about me. You know, he he cares about me more than the sparrows. Like, he loves the sparrows, and if he loved the sparrows, doesn't he love you more than them? I have to remind myself that I'm everything that God created me to be. That he's my strength. He strengthens me. I have to remind myself that even if he doesn't, he is still good. That my relationship with God doesn't hang on God just providing me everything that I want selfishly. It hangs on the balance of what's going to benefit the kingdom. And that's what I should care about more than my own selfish desires. You know, I really have to, like, really look myself in the mirror and be like, listen, I know you want this thing. Or I know this thing seems like it's so far away, but yet so close. I don't know why I laughed at that, but okay. But yeah, I know it feels like that. But it's right there. It's coming. Like, if God promised you it, he's going to come through. He's a God that he cannot lie. And everything that God's promised me in the past, I've gotten. It's not like he has, like, this messed up track record and he's done a whole bunch of lies in the past. And this is just another thing that I'm like, oh, see, he lied there, so he might be lying now. Like, no, it's not like that at all. It's like he has literally come through on everything. He said that, if I left my 15-year relationship, that he was going to provide all my needs. Everything was going to be fine. I literally got a promotion. I literally started working on myself. He gave me all of the videos, all of the courses, all of the things that I needed to heal, to grow, to become better, to support myself and my daughter alone. Like, he literally made it so that I had everything that I needed. I had support emotionally. I had everything. The counselor that I was going to go see when I was a couple was a counselor that I went to by myself so that I could actually work on myself. And that person was already there. It's not like I had to go and find them. The emotional support I got from family and friends, they were there right when I needed them. I didn't even say, hey, I'm going through a hard time. Hey, this is happening. They just rallied around me, like God was, like, moving them in my direction. Like, listen, she needs you right now. You need to be right there. You know, he just, everything just lined up so perfectly. The way that he created my story, my testimony, and allowed me to just come out of the fire like a phoenix. rising from the ashes. It just, I can't even explain how good God has been in my life. And although I'm in this waiting season right now, the adversary keeps trying to make me feel like, oh, God's not going to come through. When I know that's a lie. I know that God always comes through. I know that there's nothing that I ever wanted in my life that God hasn't get or needed. Let me correct that, because there's gonna be some people that go back and they're gonna be like, I wanted $1,000,000 and I didn't get it yet. Because you're not managing your money right. God is not gonna bless you with something like that just so you could, ruin your life. Because his plans are to prosper you, not to harm you. He's not trying to have you out there in these streets like that. You'll be acting crazy. You know how you would treat people with that money? And you don't even know how to treat people now? Like, God is not trying to just mess up your life like that. He wants what's best for you. And it's kind of like a parent. When you are a parent and you're raising a child, you give them certain things and you take certain things away. You know, a kid would want to eat candy all day long. They might want to do all of these things that are not good for their body. But you as a parent have to give them the things that they actually need, that will actually make them, you know, that will give them the nutrition that they need. It will actually benefit them in the long run. It'll be something that is good for their life. That's how God is with us. That guy is kind of like that candy that kid can't eat. You want this guy that's 6 foot, six pack, six figures, driving a whatever kind of car and all this other stuff. And God's like, listen, it's going to look good, but it's not going to be good for you. And just because it's looking the way it's looking doesn't mean it's going to advance you. It's going to hinder you emotionally, psychologically, physically. Your body's going to be deteriorating because of all the stress that you're under. You'll be losing your hair. You'll be gaining weight even though you're exercising and eating healthy, and going because you can't sleep because you're restless because this guy is putting you through HE double hockey sticks. It's not good for your soul at all, or your spirit. But you want this thing so badly. And it doesn't even have to be a guy that's, one of those criteria. It could be a guy who's a nice guy. He could be a real nice guy, and the things that you would need in your life, he's not willing to give you any of those things because you're not the person for him. And not only that, but when I say that, I feel like I have to stop saying that, because somebody's going to be so offended and click off the video and not get the blessing, because they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't want somebody else to tell me this guy doesn't want me. It already sucks enough. I already feel hurt enough. I already feel unworthy or worthless, because, it just feels like every guy is not working out. It feels like every guy doesn't want me. It feels like every single guy that seems like a decent person is just not working out. It's not working out because God has better for you. And I know you're probably thinking, well, this is the best person that I've been with, and every other person has been like this. Before you're healed, you kind of tolerate anything. But once your tolerance level goes up, your needs are so much greater than that. So it might be the best that you've seen thus far, but it's not going to be the best that God has. There is several other people who are going to be better than that. Same or better. But what God has for you is so much more. I know you can't see it now because you don't have an example. You've never been in a healthy relationship. You've never been with somebody that will really treat you the right way. You never had somebody really put forth an effort to really get to know you or be with you or whatever else it is that you were so needing in your life. But God knows exactly what you need. He's not going to give you somebody that makes you feel like crap and unworthy of anything. He's going to give you somebody that really does appreciate you. And it might not come when you want it, but oh, okay, I see what I almost did there. But he's always right on time. I had to finish it. Sorry, I had to finish it. But seriously, some people can like go back and forth and say, well, God doesn't come on time because Lazarus was dead and then he came afterwards. But listen, it might not have been when they wanted him to, but it was right on time, because what they truly wanted was their brother alive. And they got that. It didn't come before his death. He didn't heal them before his death. He didn't come when they asked him to come. He came when it was necessary so they could see the miracle, so they could see that this was something that he did, not something that their friends did, not something that somebody else made happen. This was only the power of God that allowed for this to happen in your life. And when something is graced by God, mm, it makes the impossible possible. Everything that you've ever needed in your life, God will provide in this man or this woman that he has grace for you. And although you don't have an example, you don't need an example because it's not going to look like anything you've been through. It's not going to look like what you're imagining. It's not going to look like a Disney Channel movie. It's going to be real life. It's going to be real God, you know. And sometimes we are like, well, God, give me an idea who this person is. Let me at least meet the person. If you meet the person, you're going to want them right then. Let's say, for example, I met a person. Who was the person? And I got inside my own head and ended up not allowing it to be a real thing because I was too afraid. Let's say that happened in my life. You know, when God gives you something prematurely, you can be a hindrance on your own blessing, which is why I believe God allows us to wait, because he wants us to get things at the perfect time, at a time that he has for us and not our time. Because when we're really ready, it won't be, you know, this thing where you are just trying so hard to push away a blessing. You'll be willing to and ready to receive it. And then when God blesses your relationship, you won't be the type of person that's like, oh no, God, don't give me that. You'll be like, okay, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you for everything that you're blessing me with. Like humbly, gratefully, appreciating everything without feeling like you don't deserve it. And I know some people will say we're not worthy, we don't deserve God's grace and mercy. But listen, let me tell you something that will help you receive a blessing. Every time God is getting ready to give you something, accept it. Because God thinks that you deserve it, then he's willing to give it to you. He wants you to have it. It's like, I always give this example, but it's like the compliment that you give your friends or whatever. And you're like, girl, you look so good. Like that outfit is so nice. And they proceed to tell you, oh, this is nothing. Or they say, oh, I got it from such and such for 99 cents, right? You did not ask them all of that. But because they feel like they don't want to accept you giving them a compliment, it kind of makes you feel like your compliment doesn't hold any weight. Kind of makes you feel like the thing that you're trying to give them, they aren't willing to receive it. And I feel like that's how God is with us. When we don't receive his blessing, it's kind of like we're saying, oh no, God, you know, we, even though you are God, we don't want to accept your blessing. We don't want to accept the thing that you're giving us, that you want us to have, because we know better than you know. Like, I know I don't know better than God. So if God is blessing me with something, I'm accepting it. I know I've been through a lot of stuff in the past. I know I'm not perfect. I know there's things that I've done wrong and flaws that I have, missteps, everything else. But if God is willing to bless me with something or give me something, then I'm accepting it. And so, in conclusion, you know, sometimes it could feel like, what a waste, or I'm wasting my life, or, you know, the season is going on forever, or, you know, like it just feels like I'm doing all of these things the right way and people that are doing the wrong thing are getting blessed. It feels like all of these things are happening around me. I get to see everybody else be happy, but what about me? You know, did God forget about me? Did he not know, you know, that I'm hurting? Does he not know that I'm struggling? Does he not know that this is what I want now? Does he not know that I'm trying? Does he not feel like what I'm doing is good enough? Because maybe if I did things more, if I did better, if I acted this way, if I looked this way, if I talked this way, if I was here instead of there, what if, you know, all of these scenarios that you're playing in your head, when God is saying you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You are exactly where God wants you to be. And you need to stay in position, because if you're trying to receive a blessing from God, you need to be obedient and walking on the path that he has for you. Because if you get off track, somebody else is going to receive your blessing. And I don't mean that for a man. I just mean like in general. Either that or that person's going to have to wait another 3 years because you were disobedient. You need to make sure you stay focused on him so that he can bless you at the time that he has appointed for you. And in order for him to do that, you need to be serving. And your purpose, obedience, staying focused on Him and grateful for the things that you already have so that He can bless you with more. Because if you are faithful of a few things, then God will make you ruler over many, you know? So when life gets hard, think of Hannah, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, so don't get on me. But just think of Hannah and Penina, and you know how and how Penina had children and Hannah didn't have any. And she was the one that was really praying for it. She really wanted it so badly, and she could look around and see Penina having all these children and getting the things that she wanted so desperately. Like she really wanted to have that child, those children. And she really felt like God had forgotten about her, and He didn't. He was just waiting for an appointed time to bless her so that everyone would know that it wasn't just that her and her husband made this happen. It was literally a blessing from God. Sometimes God will hold things back from you or not allow you to have something in a season or with a person. You know, He won't allow certain people to make it happen because people need to know that it's a miracle from God. He needs others to know that it's the blessing that He made happen. It's not something that we did because we were looking good and smelling good and we wore that outfit. It's literally God's hand was all up and through it. That's the only reason it happened, because it was blessed by God, because it was at the appointed time that God had for you. So although like you feel like you're forgotten, or you feel like it's just taking forever, or God wanted me to want this and I want it now, and now it just feels like or whatever it is that you're feeling, don't grow weary in doing good. Know that in due season joy comes in the morning. Know that God is a God that He cannot lie, and He will keep all of His promises. You do not have to feel like just because you're waiting that you are forgotten. God remembers you. He remembers every hair on your head. And the blessing that He has for you. Woo! I mean, if the spiritual warfare is coming like this, either my business, my kingdom spouse, I don't know what it is that God is about to do in my life. But whatever it is, it's got HE double hockey sticks nervous. Because that's the only time that the spiritual warfare comes, is when God's blessing is on the way. So be patient and knowing that He is God, and we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. When you are feeling weak and you feel like you don't know how you're going to wait, call on God. Look up those scriptures that I found. I literally just Googled it. I was like, what to do when you feel forgotten by God. And I know like people are going to laugh and they're going to think, well, wow, you really did that. But listen, I did it because I'm trying to be real. I know people go through real things. We don't always have it all together. We don't always have all the answers. And sometimes it's good to have a reminder of who God is, and knowing that He is who He says He is. He is who He is. When you need Him to be a fighter, when you need Him to be a banner, when you need Him to be whatever in your life, He is going to provide for you. He's going to be Jehovah Jireh all day, every day, So you don't have to ever feel like God isn't going to come through, because He's always going to come through, because He loves you and He cares about you. And anything that you will ever need, He is going to give you, because God is the type of God that provides. He's the type of God who is amazing. So rest in knowing that He got you.